our choice of passes wasn't the greatest. So obviously, because I think we keep going backward too many times, and just need to go forward and just put them on your backward. That's the only way you're gonna get goals.
Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the latest news and commentary on all things Chicago Red Stars. I am your host, LT.
And I'm officially now co-host Liz.
And they lost.
Shocker.
They they lost 3-1 to North Carolina Courage, a team that has been struggling to score. I said on Twitter that this felt very much like the match against Portland, where it's like you come in against a team that's struggling and you're like, okay, maybe we can pounce on them like everyone else has. And then just nothing, the complete opposite. They ran the course with us, apart from one Mallory Swanson goal, which was fantastic. Just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I should say I'm not shocked because every time I've been on this podcast, it's either a draw or a loss. That was why I said that. I'm actually shocked that they lost by as much as they did. Yeah, it wasn't great. Mal's goal was fantastic, as you said. Like, it was great. It gave everybody hope. It was like, okay, here we go. We've got this. And then they just had a clunker. It was just a clunker of a game. Like, just nothing seemed to be working. And it just seems like everything that's been happening all kind of came together. Alyssa had some great saves, though.
She did. They were awesome. I watched it 3 times and I still can't figure out if that Pinto one went off of Pinto or went off of Staub. I don't know.
So when I looked at it, each time it looked like either it hit Pinto's head and then ricocheted
then
off
hit
Staub's
Sam.
head,
Yeah.
or it did the opposite. I can't
Okay.
tell. Like,
Yeah,
I
there
couldn't
weren't
tell.
enough angles. I don't know what it is about that stadium, but all the camera angles are just strange. So I didn't get a clean look on it. Either way, massive save by Alyssa there. Several very key clearances by Tatum Milazzo that really was they were keeping the score 1-1. So there were moments where you're like, okay, maybe they can hold out or something, but when there's that much pressure on your defense over and over and over again, stuff's going to get by Alyssa, stuff's going to get by the defenders, even if they're playing well. There just can't be like you got to give them a break. The offense, the midfield, they have to give those defenders a break. They cannot continuously be, on the whole match. They need some time to rest, and it's something that killed the Red Stars last season, and it's killed them at times this season, especially in their losses and their big losses like this one. And it's just like any other sport. When the offense is on, it's like good. The defense is resting. In football, in baseball, hockey, basketball, it's like, all right, we can chill on defense because things are going well. We're clicking on offense, but it was too much. North Carolina was bearing down too much on Chicago, and it just wasn't gonna help keep the score where it was.
Yeah, I think the game plan of our defense has to be perfect, and we're going to hope that Mal can get a breakaway goal, and we're going to win every game 1-0. It seems like it's the game plan, and it's just not feasible. It's not reality. And especially, like, this is not me calling out Hannah Anderson because I think she's played phenomenally well. but having a rookie center back, mistakes are going to happen. Things are going to happen. And just in general, things are going to happen. Your defense is not going to be perfect. And we need to not have that be the game plan, because that seems to be like we're just going to kick it up to Mal and hope she creates something. And then, hey, defense and Alyssa, you guys have to be perfect. And if you're not, then we're going to probably hope for a draw. And if that doesn't happen, we're going to lose. And I think that's the thing with this game is they played, I don't want to say they played well against Kansas City. I'm not saying they played well, but they got a tie. And then to come out against North Carolina, and then you're like, okay, we just tied Kansas City. We should probably beat North Carolina, even though they're undefeated at home. But we should. And then to come out and lose 3-1, that's tough.
Yeah, it was a harsh turn. And we've talked before about like the getting excited about good things happening with this club and then them underperforming like where we expect them after they do good things, and how tough of a turnaround that is, especially when you have to come on, a podcast and talk about it, where you just like look at last week. It was us trying to be somewhat tame about the result. It was like, yes, things went well, but things are still going poorly. And I think the things that are going poorly with this club are still going poorly. And it's the midfield and it's the forward line. Mal, we've said it for years now. Mal cannot do this all by herself. It's just not feasible. And when players are injured, like Ava Cook, like Penelope, like Allie last week,
And then today for the game,
and
yeah,
then
got
Allie
hurt.
today coming out again, it's not um, conducive to forming connections. And it's hard when there's so much inconsistency. And it's nice when like good things can happen, like, Sam getting that header off that corner last week, or when Mal can put on some magic and score you goals. But when your other top scorers like Allie and Penelope aren't on the field, other people need to step up, and it was not happening.
Yeah, when you look at anybody beyond Mal, Penelope, Allie, there's just nobody. There's nobody. And when those three aren't out on the field together, it just seems like it's very disconnected. And I just want to give a big shout out to Allie Schlegel, because it's going to go unspoken about in, but Mal's goal does not happen if she does not make that run in front of Mal to pull away the defenders and kind of screen. Almost like in hockey when you're screening the goalie, she almost like ran in front and screened Murphy a little bit, and Mal shot it at the perfect time, and Murphy didn't have a chance at it. And Ali Schlegel caused that. And so it's that sort of connection and movement off the ball that can make things and open things up for players. And that's really what you want to see and know, so that players know where each other are going. And outside of those three, nobody really moves that well together. And those three are still trying to gel and move well together, because sometimes they're not on the same page.
That play developed really nicely where the ball was forced out of bounds. Jenna picks it up, throws it in, just behind Mal. Mal does this like crazy little heel flick over her head. It knocks off of the defender's head and falls right back down to Mal. Mal does one of her, like, I'll just skate around everyone kind of runs. And Allie has talked about previously, I can't remember which match it was, but there was a match where like Mal was trying to get the ball ahead to Allie, and Allie just like essentially ran in front of where Mal was passing it, and it just like bounced off of her, like the back of her heels. And she talked about like needing to know where Mal was going to go, or if Mal was going to pass to her. And I think her cutting across Mal when she was that close to her was the perfect decision, instead of pushing out further left, like I think most forwards would have done. her cutting in right in front of goal and blocking a defender from stepping to Mal and then screening Murphy, and then Mal just puts it away. Like that's the kind of thing you need um, to consistently build a good forward line. And it's not going to happen when players are injured, players are suspended, players are like whatever. Like it's not going to happen until who your starters are there for every match, and it's just not happening for the Red Stars right now.
Yeah, that's just not a consistent lineup with injuries, etc. Yeah, that's the thing. The fluidity on the front line is such a big deal. Like to be able to make that run and know, and also Allie making that run in front just causes a moment hesitation of that defender of do I go with Schlegel or do I stay on Swanson? Obviously, you stay on Mal, but it doesn't matter as much as I'm staying on Mal. Her making that run across it causes it no matter what because there's movement and it makes you pause, and that's why that works, and it was just so smart. And when I saw it, I'm like, that is what we need more of. And it's just small movements like that that can open up space, and I feel like we need to do more of that. Instead of staying like in your lanes, you need to be more fluid across the front line.
That match against KC a couple years ago with Ella pulling Cassie Miller to one side so Mal could get a shot off. Like that's just, it's so important for off ball players to not just be open for goals, but to affect the defense around them. And we just need more of it. But the first thing you need is to get the ball to them. And that's another thing that's just not happening. The we talk about it every week, that even in wins or draws, like the midfield just isn't it for the Red Stars right now. It's a problem.
There's too much space. There's too much space between the front line and the back line, and there's no like it feels like there's nothing in between. Like when we do get the ball on the defensive side, we are looking and we're trying to make 20-yard passes up the field sometimes because there's nobody in the middle of the field, or they're right there next to the back line, and then they're trying to weave through 20-30 yards of players to get up to the front line. It's not how it should be. And I don't know at this point even what I don't know. I don't know what it is because they've tried different players and we're getting the same result. And I don't know if you tried different players together. I feel like in that Kansas City match, I thought that we played slightly better, but I don't want to say better because the numbers were awful. So I don't want to say that, but I just did.
Yeah, the personnel decisions have also affected results in some ways this season. It's interesting to watch this club, or Lauren specifically, or the assistant coaches, like change personnel and watch things work, but then change it, and sometimes it doesn't work out in some areas, but sometimes it works out in other areas. I think that change with consistently bringing on Leilani Nesmith has helped, like sometimes with her defensive pressure, but you have just like Carrie on the other side, like you have rarely anything moving forward. Both of them um like facing the goal, facing Alyssa when they receive passes from Hannah or Sam or Tatum or Natalia, and it's either kick it back to them, kick it back to the other center back, kick it back to Alyssa, and maybe little dump off passes here and there to each other, or a Mal or a Jenna that are, sitting back a little too far out of position. Uh, it's just, it's not working, whatever they're trying to do. In the post match, Lauren was, pretty frustrated about the passing decision making in this match. The first half was really rough when it came to possession and passing. The second half was better, but that's because North Carolina wasn't high pressing anymore. It was just them sitting back because they had a decent lead. Once they got to 3-1, then they were really sitting back. And that's why it felt like everything was sort of going well moving forward. There were a lot of balls that, Chardonnay got or Mal got, or just anybody who was, or Shea, like anybody was getting up so far, and actually getting balls into the box and getting shots off. I think we had 9 shots, 4 of them on goal. That's more than we had versus Kansas City, but we got less goals. We were less efficient, because there was just too much. It was too late, and there was too much happening with North Carolina's good positioning with how they wanted to play with a lead.
Yeah, it was just tough to it was a tough game to watch. Yeah, the passing back is very frustrating as a fan to watch. You when you're especially when you're down a goal. Like when you're ahead or when you're tied, it's not as frustrating, but when you're down 1 goal, 2 goals and you're constantly passing back, first of all, it's just frustrating because you're like, okay, we need to be pushing for a goal. And then second of all, you're just asking for something horrible to happen because it's going to happen. And it can't, it's not going to win games. That sort of play is not. I would love to know, since he is frustrated, what the actual game plan was. Obviously, he's not going to say that. I understand. Like, we're
Right.
not going to know that because we're not going to give away tactics. But like, what what are we trying to do? Because I've watched them play all season and I can't tell what the tactics in the midfield are after watching how many games there have been this season. I don't know. I don't know what the tactics are because it seems like there's no connection there. I can't tell what their objective is, and I feel like that's a huge problem. I wish I could tell what it was, because whatever it is, like there's nothing that's even an inkling of what is supposed to be happening. But I suppose we all should also should mention that B. Franklin was out with the suspension that the NWSL gave after the fact on the foul that on Vanessa DiBernardo. So she was unavailable in this game. And I thought that she had some positive moments in that Kansas City game, but obviously was not available for this game.
I don't know if we discussed last week. I don't know what, if everyone was healthy, like what that formation, like what would be where people would be playing. It seemed natural, with them going back to that 4-4-2 position formation that they were playing against Kansas City, and Allie was up top with Mal, which was kind of expected because, she's a forward, she gets up there. And then Jenna coming in for Penelope, being that like right midfielder. I don't know if Penelope was healthy. Would she be that right midfielder, or would she be up top because she's played better up top? And what does that mean for Allie? Like, I don't. It's hard when these players have certain positions that they're good at, but then you change the formation, and it's like you got to either figure out if they're good somewhere else, or you got to bench them, or something. It's hard. It was easier when there was those 3 up top because, that all 3 of them, it's like Allie with in that, like, attacking midfield role. Once they put Penelope in the middle, she started playing better. It's just like, I don't know what this formation means for everybody when everybody's healthy. But it didn't seem. Sarah had a pretty quiet match other than a couple of really nice, on the ball dribbles like she usually has. It's very common for her to be that way and throughout her career. Jenna was, I think, almost invisible, other than that throw into to Mal. I like Leilani moving back to the defensive midfield and then giving up a really, really easy turnover that led to that tying goal that I think really broke a lot of their momentum, a lot of their spirits. It was I don't know. I that moment was it was very strange. Um, she seemed very like lackadaisical, just just gave it up. Like she didn't even get like bodied off the ball. She didn't get like um pushed into and pressed off of it. She didn't like no one like very tactically like snuck it out of her feet. They just walked up and took it. It was strange. Um it it doesn't lead to good things when things like that happen. So I think everyone was really off of their game, or not everybody, but quite a few of them.
Well, thank goodness Tatum was not, because I think that that scoreline would have been way worse if Tatum Milazzo was not on the field. Because she took a beating too in that game.
Yeah.
She was really getting hit from behind a lot, and they weren't calling it all the time. And but she had at least one. I feel like there might have been two goal line saves. Can't remember exactly. I remember one in the game, but she just had a heck of a game. I mean, I think that this game kind of, for me, I've been questioning sometimes her want to be out there attitude, I guess, was the word that I'm looking for. And she proved it to me. She played with some heart today, especially when the rest of the team kind of felt like they didn't have their A game. So it was good to see her out there and be successful even in a loss.
Tatum's willingness to just like throw herself at everything that was coming her way. Uh, we've always known that she's been one of the better 1v1 defenders that this club has seen on their team. And she made plenty of plays in this match that showed that again. And then just anything in the air, she was coming for and making sure it didn't get on goal. And it was nice to see. I'm pretty sure she's leading the Discord's player of the match. I don't think anyone has voted for anybody else other than her, because she really seemed to just be like the player that really did everything for the Red Stars this week, compared to anyone else other than Mal, who had a good game. But it's hard when she doesn't get help around her to really see her shine. But yeah, Tatum had a fantastic match. She swapped to that right side. We've seen her there a few times this season. I never think she plays super well over there. I always think that she plays much better on the left. Um, but she played probably the best match of her season, and here she was on the right side. She did a hell of a job on Hopkins, who's not an easy player to body up against. And then that moved Natalia to the left side, which we've only seen her there during the Wrigley game, which I didn't think she looked good in that match either. And she had moments for sure in this match when it came to um, some of the 1v1 situations, some of the like her sprinting to get back in position and making plays on crosses, blocking passes. But then she just got worn down so much from Sanchez and Lucy and anybody else that was kind of coming at her, that it just started to fall apart in that second half.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, that's a lot of people coming at you 2 weeks in a row of just that's a tough ask for that defensive line. And I mean, again, we're asking them to be perfect, and it's not going to happen. And it's so I'm sure it's incredibly frustrating for the players to just, like, you finally get the ball out, you get it up to the midfielders, you get it up to the front line, and then it just immediately they're dispossessed and they're coming right back at you again. And it's like, okay, I didn't even have a second to catch my breath, and now here we are. And I do remember one play of the game that I thought was very interesting was Sam Staub bringing the ball essentially like up the field. She was like 3/4 of the way up the field. And I was like, just keep going. Like, just keep
Yeah.
going at this point.
No one else is gonna do it. You might as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Because that's kind of what you have to do.
yeah, there weren't a lot of it's not this team, it's been said by Lauren a lot that like everything starts defensively and then they like either it's very transitional or it like very counterattack. It's how he wants them to play. Um, but when they do find like little nice runs of possession, there was one in like somewhere between like the 50th and 60th minute that was just like a really nice build up from the back line to the midfield, to the outside on the left to the middle, and then there was just like a bad cross by Natalia into the box, but like the passes were great, the runs were great, and it was like, can we do this like all the time? Like I'm sick of this counterattack, like sitting back, get a counter and move forward, or try to move forward, mentality of play, style of play. I would really like to see more in the buildup, but I don't know if they can play that way because they're not good at playing out of pressure, and teams know that, and that's why so many teams high press them, and then those teams gain the lead, and then they sit back in their nice little blocks, don't high press anymore. The Red Stars do end up getting forward and looking better, but they can't finish any of their chances or can't pass the ball well enough to get anything going.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It's not fun football to watch at all. Like it's not at all. It's very frustrating as a fan because people come to watch Mal Swanson play. I know there's other players, but people are coming to watch Mal quite a bit, and she doesn't hardly get the ball. And when she does, sometimes it's all the way back in our like third, our defensive third, and then she's having to bring it all the way up, or she's trying to run onto a ball that somebody's like picked up over the top, or whatever it may be. And we get lucky. Like the goal that she had, that was an excellent play. And the ball bounced our way, but sometimes it doesn't, and it's really hard. And I think this specific tactic and formation and plan that we have is putting too much pressure on our defense, and they're already getting high pressed, and then we're getting pressure constantly from the other team's offense, and it's it's bend but don't break, and I feel like we're cracking.
Yeah, it reminds me, I made the analogy earlier, but it does remind me like when a football team goes out and uh, plays defense for, 15 plays or something, team drives all the way down, they try to get a good stop, doesn't end up happening. Team scores a touchdown or gets a field goal or something, then their offense comes on a 3 and out, defense is right back out there and they're tired as hell. They're trying to rotate players. It just doesn't it's not going to work for 90 minutes in soccer. It doesn't work in other sports. It leads to a lot of chances by other offenses, and it's not going to work here. It's like you could tell that the defenders want to fight. They want to play as hard as they can. They're the kinds of players that rarely get subbed out. I mean, you have Sam Staub, who has never not been subbed out, or who's never been subbed out in her career yet. And it like, but it doesn't mean that she's not tired. It doesn't mean that if the offense is up there getting chance after chance after chance, like all these other teams that do these things to us do, like she'll be less tired late in matches and you won't give up these second half goals so much from not just her, just anybody on that line, anybody on the midfield. It's just not it's not going to work. It's hard to watch. It's frustrating to watch, but it like still there's positives that you can find within this team. But it's hard to look past the negatives when you're on a little not so little little streak here of many losses or draws. It's like you want to get that win to get players energized and more willing to be encouraged to keep playing.
Yeah, I think going back to the tired comment, I think there's two types of tired that they're dealing with too. There's the tired of just being out on the field and the constant pressure that they're getting, and then there's the emotional tired that they're dealing with of just the constant not having the other teams constantly possessing the ball. There it's just relentless over like wave after wave of that, and that can be so mentally draining on a player on top of the physical draining of just playing. And that's where I worry about mental fatigue as well as the physical fatigue that's going on. Like you look at Nesbeth and the turnover that happened, like that could be mental fatigue right there. Just like you had a moment where you just had a lapse and that happens
Yeah.
because it's just a constant pressure and she's a rookie and it's just a lot. And I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that that is a possibility with the amount of pressure that they're constantly undergoing since she plays defensive midfield. Like they're constantly having to defend and they just don't even have a moment to be like, okay, this is where I'm at. Like ground yourself and be like, okay, this is what's going on. This is what I need to do. Like to have a moment to even look around the field. They just, it feels like they don't even have that because it's just, oh, we lost possession. Here we go again.
Yeah, it's got to be hard to be like, a play goes down the right side. Natalia's sprinting to get back on defense. Uh, tries to close out that defender before or that attacking player before they get a cross off. The cross goes off. Tatum comes in, makes this, clearing header out of the box. Might land back into North Carolina's possession, goes out for a goal kick, and it's like, okay, cool, we did our job. Let's get something going. Alyssa puts the ball down. They try to build up, or she does like a long kick. It's immediately back in North Carolina's possession, and they're at it again.
Yep.
It like to be like, okay, who relief? Like we did our job, we're good. Now, like let's get going. And then it's like, okay, now I'm back. Now I gotta do my job again.
Yeah, it's a
When
lot.
you have to do that for 90 minutes, the mental fatigue is definitely there. And with so many young players on this team, I think it's hard to know what their experiences are in full 90s when it comes to being at the pro level versus what they're used to at the college level, especially in college where you can kind of just swap in and out as you
Right.
please. uh,
Right, and it was hot and humid during the game. It was a lot. It was a lot for everybody. But I will say that one positive that I've taken from the last this game and the last game is Hannah Anderson.
I was going to say
Uh,
the
re-
same thing.
really, really impressed. I'm not surprised that we're on the same page with that one. Really impressed. Just just very composed on the ball. I feel like has just fit right into that back line. Like it's been kind of seamless, to be honest.
Yeah, I miss Natalia in some ways uh, on that side of the middle of the defense. But the fact that Hannah Anderson has come in, played, I think it was half a match, um, and then 390s in a row, and to only make, some mistakes here and there, only one or two possibly leading to goals, like for your first four matches, as a rookie on filling in on a defensive line that is, praised week in and week out by other players, media, opposing players, to be next to players like Sam Staub, Natalia Kuika, Tatum Milazzo, who have also been praised for their defensive abilities for so long, um, to almost fit in, like you said, seamlessly, and it's just kind of it works. It's not like you're not cringing every time the ball gets near them. As I remember with some defenders in years past, it's nice that you can have someone so confident in themselves and so um, just like a rock back there who's like, I may be young, but I believe in myself enough that I belong here. It's really nice to see, and um, I mentioned it in the Discord during or after the match that she is on a 1 year, 1 year option contract. So the team can either extend her or pick up her option. And I think she's really shown them in these 3.5 matches that she probably deserves a contract to stay here and build that relationship with Sam Staub.
Yeah, I agree. I've been really impressed. I think that it's also our back line and Alyssa Nair instilling that confidence in her. I'm sure that they are insanely supportive of her. And Alyssa, we know Alyssa loves to bark out orders. We can hear her all the time during matches. So I'm sure that really helps Hannah too, because you can hear Alyssa, and to have somebody that's such a good communicator as your keeper. And it's also Alyssa Nair. So holy cow, like that's probably amazing for her as well. But it's just, it's so good to see. And what I'm excited for is when, I'm not going to say if, but when we start possessing the ball, I
Okay.
can't wait for her to get up the field and we can utilize her height on the offensive side because she's very tall. So that would be helpful.
There was that one moment in the match where she was up the field and Sam put a nice long pass into the box, and if it was just a little shorter or if Hannah was like 2 inches taller, she definitely could have done something with it. So it is nice when you can have a player her size up the field. It's not what you always want as your center back, but it's nice, especially when either in the run of play or in open play or on a corner or one of Sam's throw-ins or something. Um, you want a player like her with her ability in the air to be able to get in there offensively. But the way that this team plays right now, it's not going to happen as much, which I think is what has been frustrating about the move to outside back for Natalia is when you watch her career and how fantastic she is at getting up the field and being in spaces that are like wildly out of position offensively. She's fantastic. And when you move her to the outside, you think, good, we're now going to have this. And it's such a struggle to get anything going forward that she can't get going forward. Anytime she does, we watched it several times in this match. She was getting forward, ball gets turned over by either her or someone else, and then she's doing a full sprint back on defense to try to get the ball back.
Yeah, it's just it stinks because you know what she brings to the table. We've seen it for years in Portland, and so it would be amazing. And Hannah Anderson, I remember when they drafted her, I watched clips of her scoring goals in college, so we know what they can bring. It's just that our style of play is just not conducive to that currently. I'm just going to keep positive that eventually we are going to figure this out. Whether it's this season or next season, we're going to figure it out. All of these players are going to be here, so it's gonna be fine.
I remember
Rebuild year. I got it. That's the thing. Rebuild year.
I remember when I was doing my pre-draft research that I was so confident that Hannah Anderson was going in like the top 5 that I was like, I don't even have to talk about her on this podcast because there's no way that the Red Stars are going to get her. And I think I even said in that episode, I was like, there's names like, Croy Bethune and Allie Sentnor and Hannah Anderson that we're not going to talk about because we're not getting them. And I wish I would have talked about her because I was very I was very impressed by her and very excited for her to come out of college. That that for her to fall all the way to whatever round that was, third round, fourth round, I don't remember what it was. It was too far for a player of her skill and her talent. And to be starting at center back playing 90 minutes for the Red Stars, and when your competition essentially is, Natalia Kuika or it's like you get drafted, it's like there's no room for you here. So you're gonna have to be on the bench for a while. Um, and then they're like, we're gonna make room for you. Like that says a lot. And I don't remember which I think it might have been Tatum and Allie that were in the post-match press conference after Hannah's first minutes or first start or something. And the excitement that they had for her should tell you everything about who she is as a teammate and how much she means to not just that back line, but to that whole team.
Yeah, she's just an excellent player, and I can't wait to see what more she can do because I've just been impressed so far. Obviously, there's been mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes. She's a rookie; it happens. But she is to me the biggest positive so far. I was thinking during the game today, I was like, I'm trying to think of who my rookie of the year is so far for the Red Stars, and I think that she is number one currently on my list, and I think that Jamise Joseph might be second on my list.
Yeah, they've been impressive. I think really most of the rookies that came, if not all, that came out of the draft have been better than I expected and have gotten more minutes than really that I've and than I expected. Um, I think obviously they still have their rookie mistakes. They still get their lumps. It's like, you can't expect a player to translate every aspect of their game from college to the pros. It's not going to happen. Um, but it is a year that comes off of a year that we were the bottom of the league, bottom of the table. Players left in droves in free agency. They get some star quality players back in trades and free agency, and they draft well. Um, and I think to still be in seventh this season, instead of 12th or 14th with the two add teams, I think says a lot about what has changed and the feelings of the players, and what they think this team could be in the future. I've spoken to some about the prior years and just the struggle with how things were going in those years, both on and off the field, and how those things really took a toll on them and their confidence and what they either saw in themselves as players or as a team as a whole. And I think that tune has changed this season regardless of the struggles that they've been having. And that I think is the biggest positive that you can take out of this because they don't have to deal with so many of those off the field struggles that translate to on the field, which translate to you being one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league. You're still a playoff team. You're in a little bit of a rut right now with performances apart from that KC one, but you have to build on the positives. I think they will build on the positives. It's just a matter of whether that's going to be this season or with any sort of changes that happen in the off season, this upcoming one, if those will help build into results next season.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I think that ownership change has been huge. And just steadying the ship. I think that's kind of what the season feels like to me, kind of just a steadying of a ship that's just been lost at sea, so to speak, prior. And so now we are in a rebuild and we are still in a playoff spot. So that's the thing. Like, not all hope is lost. I know a lot of people are like, it feels like the season is kind of just like a wave where we're just like up and down, up and down, up and down. And for me, I'm not trying to get too high and I'm not trying to get too low about anything. Just stay very steady with it all, because with the highs come the, okay, like the tie with Kansas City to me felt like a high because it's Kansas City. They haven't lost, but it's like, okay, but we still passed like garbage. It wasn't great. And then this, it's like, okay, we had a crap game, but there were some positives to take out of it. Yeah, we gave up more goals and we lost, but there were things to take out of it that were good too. And we're getting our rookies minutes. They're all starting to gel. Maybe one day we're going to actually get multiple games in a row where we're going to get Allie, Mal, and Penelope on the field at the same time.
Saying that for a long time.
So, like, that's the thing. Like, there's so many things that aren't happening that could happen that I feel like are. Noah in the Discord asked a question, and I'm going to throw it out to you. Should we be worried? And how
Uh,
worried are we?
should we be worried? No. Um, how worried am I? Like just like a straight smiley face. No
That might not
smiles,
have been the exact words, but
no
yeah.
frowns, just like the like eh. Like
I,
it's like you said, it's a year where we want good things to happen because it got off to such a hot start, and then you kind of look back at those matches and you're like, all those matches were against some of the worst teams in this league. But we didn't know that they were going to be some of those worst teams in the league at that point. Um, we've performed somewhat well against the top two teams in Orlando and Kansas City. The Orlando one I kind of don't count because Bando wasn't a part of their squad when we played them. So I don't know what she would have done to us if that were the case. We'll find out whenever we play Orlando again. Um, so I'm not too worried. I think um, if they build consistency and if Lorne can find the players who he is the most confident in, I think things will turn around. But for now, I would say that I'm just kind of here and experiencing it.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I just feel like this is what I did not, again, didn't want to get too high, didn't want to get too low this season. Just stay the course, let players get minutes, whatever happens happens. My thought was it can't be as bad as it was last year and with how many goals we gave up with what we brought in defensively. So I was like, it's not going to be as bad as it was last year. That was where my mind was initially. So I was like, whatever happens, happens. If we make the playoffs, that would be wonderful. I think that we have a very good shot of doing that. If we don't, I feel like we're going to just narrowly miss out. In games like this, games like the Angel City game are going to be those games where we're going to be like, wow, we could have had points, but we didn't. The Bay game. I think those will be the moments. But I think that it's good experience, and I think that all it's going to do is make us better for seasons to come. So I'm very much looking forward, but also like staying in the moment as well and riding this out and seeing where it goes. But I'm just really trying not to get too low about a loss, that because we're just still trying to gel. Because as we said, like some of these players are still trying to play together multiple games in a row.
It the amount of times that I've watched the Red Stars play and just be absolutely defeated. Um, this is not one of them, because like I want them to play well and I want them to win. That's what I want every single week for them. But this is sports. It's not going to happen. Um, but when prior to the season, when you're looking at who this team had, and like none of the free agents apart from Mal stayed. Um, I think that was all. I can't remember. Um, it felt like that. And
I
then
think so.
the talent that you bring in, you have for several years. You have Natalia Kuika for several years. You have Sam Staub, who just signed an extension several weeks ago. Like you have her for a few more years. Mal signs her massive contract. You have her for the next 5 years. When you look around the apart from Alyssa not being under contract for next season, most of your like staple players, your foundation are here for the next several years.
And they're
And
young.
they're young, and you can build around them. They're attempting to build around them right now with young pieces that they're giving a lot of playing time. You just have to be patient with it, because there will be moments where you see these players at their like peak of their talent in the moment, not what they could grow into, but their actual peak right now in their career. But then they underperform in other aspects. And that's going to happen with so many young players. They're not going to be completely consistent all the time. Um, it's not going to happen. It's something we have had to get used to this whole season with the ups and downs. But then also it's not just the players, it's also the decisions for which players should be out there. It's the tactics. Um, those also are not working very well. So something has to be figured out, and I'm not too concerned that they won't figure it out. It's just after a loss, it feels like nothing will work. But that, like I said, that's sports. You're gonna feel one way during a loss, and you're gonna feel one way during a win. If this was a win, we would probably be sitting here saying, "Look how great we are. We should be in the top 5." Blah blah blah.
Right. And that's the thing. Like you think of last week for the Kansas City game, and there were so much just excitement and just like positivity. And then you go to this week and it's, oh no, it's so whatever. And it's like, this is what you're going to get with a team like this. You're going to get those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, we just tied Kansas City, who hasn't lost all season. And then you're like, okay, we're going to play North Carolina. Like we have a shot here and whatever. And now like people are even moving forward to the next game. And you're like, okay, playing San Diego. They're not playing super great. And
They are
so
not.
so it's one of those where again, like you're looking forward and you're saying, okay, San Diego's not playing super great. But the thing is they have a ton of talent on their team. So there's that.
They are underperforming, as you would say. They are not living up to their potential. And we've said that about teams like North Carolina, like Portland, when we've played them. Hey, let's go beat them because they're not living up to their potential. And we just have struggled to capitalize on that. And so hopefully come Friday, the match is on Friday, they can capitalize on a struggling San Diego.
We're just really good at and nice, and we let teams, when they play us, figure themselves out. We're really good at that.
Figure themselves out and score outside the box bangers that are just ridiculous. And it's like you wouldn't be able to make that shot, 9 out of 10 times. And here you are doing it against the Red Stars week in and week out. Everyone does it. Everyone's just like, here you go, set up the tee, knock it away. You're good.
I'm just fully prepared because Stoney has not been playing Jaden Shaw for like 90 minutes, and watch, Jaden Shaw is going to play 90 minutes against us. I'm calling it right now. It's going to happen and I'm going to be mad.
Yeah. I Well, I don't want to talk about it.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to mention that we've got them coming up, and they are struggling. They really are. Like, they are absolutely not performing to where and the Red Stars aren't performing to where they should be either. So, and we play better away. It's an away game.
Said that before this match too.
Hey, I'm trying to be positive.
North Carolina is undefeated at home, though. They're the best home team which is usually Portland, but Portland just lost at home. So, haha. Yeah,
it's not funny at all.
It's not. It is. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Friday mostly because I just keep wanting to watch this team. It's very different than last year where I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. But even though they are struggling, I still am eager to keep watching certain players grow and see where we can mesh and everything. I'm also excited that I'll be able to watch a match and then watch it again before we actually record a podcast, so I can remember a little more about what actually happened, because I have such a bad short-term memory. I watch a match, I come on here, and then I just have to cipher through my illegible notes on what actually happened to remember the details.
And I'm over here just completely winging it with nothing.
Hey, that's more impressive than what I can do. I can kind of wing it. Hopefully I don't. I bet you could go back and watch all of the episodes that are on Sundays and know that I recorded on Sundays, and then go watch the ones that that I've had like a day to prepare, and you could tell the difference in my analytical breakdowns or whatever.
It's all good. I think that you're doing a fantastic job. I'm more of a wing it kind of person. I probably shouldn't share my secrets that I truly don't prepare. I just kind of go with it.
The whole thing.
I do not.
No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
You got it laid out
word for word. Before the episode, Liz and I talk about all the things we're going to talk about, and then I just script everything, and that's how it goes.
It's written in play format, actually.
Yes. 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 Sometimes we miss our lines, but that's okay. We're okay at improvising here and there, but most of it's just completely scripted. Now, this part, I will admit, is scripted, because with that, I'll wrap things up with this episode.
That is a script. I know you have a script for this.
Yeah, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to watch all of our scripted content. Make sure that you're subscribed to those platforms and hit the bell so you get notifications on when our next episodes go up. Make sure you're following us at Red Stars Report on social media and all of our channels there to keep up with all the stuff we do between the episodes. Make sure that you're a member of our Discord, because those people are awesome and it's a great place to be. There's a link in the description to be a part of that, and the next time you'll see us, We'll be recapping that San Diego match. Hopefully Grant will be with us so we can do a 3-person podcast. That would be,
Yay.
that'll be something.
You'll have to write a really good script for that one.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to take even longer to write those scripts. 3 dialogues. Oh. All right. Well, with that, we'll see you next week for another Red Stars report.